Hello again, this is Chapter 2. We're looking at method basics now. We're going to have a look at the structure, getters and setters, and printing methods, and we're going to introduce you to string concatenation. As we've known, methods implement the behavior of objects. They're effectively a set of instructions for the processor underneath it all, but Java makes it a bit easier to get access to the processor by allowing us to write these methods. They comprise of a header and a body, which we're going to see in a second. Another word for header is signature, so they comprise of a header or signature and a body. Some sort of categories of methods include the getters, which effectively return information about an object, and setters, which can change or alter the state of an object. There are many other different categories of methods, but we're going to talk about, as this is an objects-focused discussion, we'll look at the getters and setters initially. In terms of the method structure, looks something like what's in red on the screen there. We've got the header or signature, which in this case is public int get price, open and close parentheses, and then there's a body, which is open brace, some statements, and then a close brace. So the header tells us the name of the method and what parameters it takes. This particular method doesn't take any parameters because there's nothing in the parentheses list there. Whether it returns a result, this particular one does return a result. It returns a type integer, and then the visibility to objects of other classes. So in this case, we can see this method from other classes. So when you right click, you can see it because it says public. If that had said private, when you right click on the object bench, you would not be able to see that method. The body is generally encodes the method statements, and it generally can be that small, only one line of code there, but the body of the methods can be absolutely tons and tons of lines of code. We try not to have too many lines of code, as we don't want methods doing too much, as we like to break the problem down into separate and smaller problems, but we'll do method design later in the course. So getter methods, otherwise known as accessor methods. Access method always has a return type that is not void. So if you see a method, it won't have a void in its signature. It would generally have a return type specified by one of the examples shown there. It will always return a value of the type given in the header, so you'll often see this return keyword in the method itself. So that's how you can tell if it's a getter method. It will have a return and a return of some type in the body of the code. Just a little bit of information for you. Returning is not printing to the screen. So when we do print to the terminal, that is not the same as returning a value. And you return a value, you can actually use that value in other programs or in other parts of the code. When we print to the terminal, all we're literally doing is printing to the terminal. So just take note of that. Here is an example then of a complete accessor method. We've got the visibility modifier, the return type of type int in this case, the name of the method, again starting with lowercase and then uppercase as you just use to show any new words in the method name. In this case we have a parameter list which is empty, and open brace and close brace shows the method body or the block of the method. And this has our single statement, which is a return statement. If we have a return type, we must have a return statement. So if there's a void return type, you will not see a return statement, but if there's a return type of anything else, you will need to see a return statement. Other kind of category is the setter method. So it's a similar method structure. It needs the same header and body type structure, but it's used slightly differently and has to change an object's state. Typically achieved through assignment statements, and they often receive parameters. So in order to change a variable, then you'll need to have some kind of assignment statement in the method, and that will be within a mutator method. And they often receive parameters for that assignment statement. So here is our typical mutator method. We've got the visibility modifier again, so we can get access to this method from another class. Importantly now though, we don't have any return type, so we're not going to be looking for any return keywords in the body of or in the block of the method here. Method name and a parameter within the parentheses. Now we need a type for the parameter and a name for the parameter. In this particular mutator method, we've got balance equals balance plus amount. So the balance plus amount is the expression, which is then going to feed into the balance. So that total line there. That total line there is our assignment statement, and the assignment statement uses the amount parameter and it uses the balance field. In order to help us out with encapsulation, we're going to look at encapsulation on the next slide I think, we have often dedicated methods which are used to set certain things. So the method at the bottom of the screen there is a set price method, and this is an example of us wanting to set a specific price. So we've got void, so with no return type, set price, and then the new integer type there. We've got a single assignment statement which makes the price field equal the local variable, the new price. Looking at local variables and parameters is in another presentation in Chapter 2, so have a look at that one if you want to look at local variables. Mutators will protect these fields, so our setters and getters will protect fields. We often don't want people to get direct access to our fields of our object. Allowing protection of these fields supports a fundamental concept in object orientation, which is encapsulation. And encapsulation is basically objects looking after their own fields and their own data. That's encapsulation. We're going to do encapsulation a lot later, but it's an important concept that you'll need to get used to. One reason for protecting the field, as shown there, is sometimes the values that people or other methods are going to give it are not going to be the correct type or the correct amount. So there's often tests done in mutators to make sure that the fields and the parameters given are correct. Now, that degree of method is the printing from method. So here's one of the methods from the ticket machine, the class which we've been working with. Some new stuff here for you. This line of code here, system.out.println, that is a line of code which is basically calling of methods and classes from other classes. We discussed that Java has got lots of classes which we can use and reuse, and this is one such class and method call. So you can ignore that for the time being, but we can just use this to output data to the terminal in BlueJ. So what we do is we do system.out.println, open parentheses, then we need speech marks, followed by text which we want to output, and then a closing speech mark and closing parentheses, and then semicolon, and then that will print out that line of hashes there to our terminal. So the rest of them do the same. This line here will simply print out that bit there, and effectively when you print all of those out to the terminal you get our ticket. This line here has got some string concatenation in it. We'll do concatenation in the next slide. So printing from methods just used to get data to the terminal. So string concatenation. We can use string concatenation, and it does some slightly strange things. If we do a system.out.println 4 plus 5, we're going to get an output to the terminal of 9. If we do a system.out.println wind, a little plus and then O shown like that, we're going to get window. If we do the system.out.println results, colon, speech mark, and then plus 6, we're going to get what's shown there. We can also use concatenation in a slightly different way, and I'll show you that now on this slide. If we did a system.line 3 plus 4 plus is a number, the output of that would be 7 is a number. So with string concatenation, if we use plus before we use a string, then if you use plus with two integers before you use a string, then it just actually does the addition function. However, if you start to introduce a string, then it will just create it as a string. So if we did 3 plus 4, the output would then be 3, 4 is a number. Now there's a few little exercises there for you to do when it comes to string concatenation, so try and get used to what goes on there. A little exercise for you there is to identify in the ticket machine class which methods are print from, set, and getters. And like I say, the exercises online in the question bank there for looking at string concatenation. And remember, you can also experiment with string concatenation by using CodePad. So system.out.println 3 plus 4 plus is a number. And if we do that, then we'll get that output there. So in summary, methods implement all object behavior. They can have a name and they can have a return type. The return type can be void, and the method could take some kind of parameters from the outside world. Another exercise for you to complete there before class for the string concatenation, and some more exercises for you to go through there in the book. Okay, see you next time.